Thank you, Grace. As many of you may know, not only is this event being held here in Manchester and broadcast around the state of New Hampshire, we're also broadcasting this state across the country, trying to use the latest in technology to webcast this from California to Florida and beyond, with particular emphasis to our friends in Iowa, South Carolina, and Nevada. Hello, if you see us out there, good morning. It's early, particularly in Nevada, and welcome to this great event. In addition to that technology, we are also attempting something new today for our individuals and friends and colleagues who are deaf and hard of hearing. We are using a CART system which is remote. Actually, the persons who are listening to us right now on the web are sitting somewhere in Illinois, and they are remotely transcribing this event to our friends and colleagues who are deaf and hard of hearing. If this works successfully, this will expand the availability of CART to conferences not only for this community, but we can educate other conferences that this is an affordable, efficient way to make sure that persons who are deaf and hard of hearing are included in all aspects of American life. So work with us to make sure this works today. At this time, I would also like to introduce the President Pro Tem of the New Hampshire Senate, Senator Maggie Hassin, who has long shared our vision of equality and opportunity for persons with disabilities. Senator Hassin.
Good morning. A very warm New Hampshire welcome to all of you on what we here call a crisp New England day. I'm delighted that you're here. I'm delighted to see so many of you here. I've been asked to speak to you about the importance of the issues of equality, opportunity, and access for those with disabilities in the upcoming presidential election. For those of you who don't know, my passion about this issue comes from the fact that I have a 19-year-old son who happens to have cerebral palsy, a wonderful young man, but a man whose life is very different today because of the progress we already have made in the issue of equal opportunity for all with disabilities, but who also knows, as all of you do, that there is great progress still to be made. I drove in here today thinking a little bit about how to put the concerns of a mother and a state legislator into common parlance for those of you who may not be as familiar with the issues that individuals and their families with disabilities face. And I thought a little bit about the bridge collapse in Minnesota this summer. After that terrible news came across the airways, we all obviously were saddened and regretted the loss of life, and then we began to think about the significance of that crumbling infrastructure. I think we all thought about the fact that there was a whole metropolitan economy at stake when that infrastructure crumbled. And then we thought about the personal inconvenience and challenge for all the people who commute in and out of Minneapolis and St. Paul. And we thought about the impact on the economy. And we thought also about the uncertainty that that bridge collapse posed for all of us, that infrastructure that we all rely on, those of us who are able-bodied rely on every day, all of a sudden seemed a little less certain. That infrastructure, roads, bridges, police, public education, all of that infrastructure so critical to the quality of life for all of us is something that I think much of the able-bodied world takes for granted. But for those of us who either have disabilities or live with somebody who has a disability, that uncertainty is present all the time. Two stories to tell you a little bit about where we are in New Hampshire and why we still have work to do. I'm the chair of a commission on employment issues that face veterans in the state of New Hampshire. And recently, a veteran came in and said, well, I've been looking for work. I've had a little bit of luck, but I've learned to keep quiet about the fact that I'm a disabled veteran. He said, because as soon as I say the word disabled, the employer's eyes glaze over and I don't get the job. Now, we passed legislation in New Hampshire 2 years ago to make sure that New Hampshire employers had to have the same standard as federal employers do for reasonable accommodation. We have laws on the books in this state that require equal opportunity and non-discrimination. But what that veteran was telling us is that he still faces discrimination and that there is a large population of employers in this state who still don't know about their obligations and, worse, don't know enough about people with disabilities to even engage with an applicant about what his abilities are. That's one story. The second thing I want to share with you is that as the mother of a 19-year-old man with severe physical disabilities, I don't have the same certainty and vision about his future, and he doesn't either, as I do for my 14-year-old daughter who doesn't happen to have disabilities. My son had the great benefit of special education in the Exeter Public Schools. He was included into a mainstream program, and the school in our community has been wonderfully welcoming to him. But we do not know, once he turns 21, what his future will be. All of those resources that helped him learn and be a full participant in his school community, all of those resources risk being squandered because we don't have the infrastructure in place to help him be the full participant in New Hampshire's community life that I know he can be. For all the progress we have made, and it is significant, for the closing of the Laconia State School in New Hampshire, which was one of the high points, if not the high point, for people with disabilities in this state in the last generation. For all the progress we've made, we still have progress to come. For those of you who aren't from New Hampshire and may not be as familiar with what's happening in your own state, please know that here, despite the laws on the books that give children the right to a special education, a free and appropriate education, we don't have enough expertise and trained people in our school system to provide the kind of services and educational opportunities that our young people with disabilities need. There seems to me to be a real retrenchment in our commitment to special education because it is expensive and because after only 30 years of trying, people are beginning to feel it's too difficult. Those are things that can be solved with full funding from the federal government for special education services, as we were promised. And they can be solved further as we move forward with a vision that doesn't stop at age 21, with full supports, livable wage, benefits, training, and a professional career path for direct service workers. This country was founded on the notion that we have an ongoing obligation to make progress. Read the Declaration, go back and read your Constitution, and read the New Hampshire Constitution. They call us to do better all the time. And this country has made its greatest strides when we have looked out to those who are marginalized and brought them in to the mainstream of our cultural and educational and civic and political lives. And that's what we need to continue to work for. I have a vision for my family that goes something like this. My 19-year-old son will be able to continue to develop and learn and discover what he's good at and build a life for himself that is independent of the life of my husband and me, just the way I hope and believe that my 14-year-old daughter will be able to do. And then I have a vision that my husband and I will work until we feel we're done, save for our retirement, and then retire, knowing that our children have independent and full lives, respected by their peers, able to contribute to the economic, social, civic, and political life of this state and this country, and knowing that because they can do that, this state and this country will be a better place. So that's the vision I share with all of the candidates today. We have great work to do, but as always, when we bring people in from the margins and when we work for them to be free and have the power of self-determination and self-sufficiency, we all benefit. I thank you for being here, and I look forward to the day.